There he is. What's going on, bud?
Genius. Getting it. Yeah, baby.
How are you, sir?
Good. Just getting used to, I don't have anybody under 30 working for me. So it's like,
What happened here?
no, I've tried to kill myself, but I aim too high. No, so I cut pretty good.
Yeah?
And yeah, we just moved. And so I cut myself pretty darn good. And then my little kids are like, it's healed and everything, but like my little kids are like, Daddy, you want Band-Aid for boo-boo? And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, sure.
It's fine now. No, you need Band-Aid for boo-boo. So if I take it off, they just maybe make me put it back on. So I leave it on. They go, oh, I said, thank you for this. You
go. My kids play with Band-Aids as if they're like toys. So they just stick it on everything. I have Band-Aids all over my fucking house. Everywhere you look, everything I own covered in Band-Aids.
Just get some Scotch tape and they'll move. They'll move up. They'll adjust.
Or just some Scotch.
All my tape's gone. They take care of the pens. These are the remaining pens in the house, and
that's more pens I got in my house, man.
I'm always scrambling for pens. Yeah, I know that feeling. Yep.
But I like old school pens, because the problem is, I remember like I started using the recorder for like to write down jokes or some ideas for stuff, and then like I couldn't find the damn thing. I'm like, what? Where did I put it? And so I always think like, you always think that piece of paper that you wrote, not that great idea, and then you lose that piece of paper and you're like, no, that was the greatest idea ever. I have to find it. And then you find it and go, oh, it's nothing.
Wasn't that good? Yeah.
I love the Mitch Hedberg joke about that. You ever heard that one when he's talking about how
what does he say?
He's like he wakes up in the middle of the night and he's got to take notes for jokes and things like that. And he's like, and if I can't find a pen, I just have to convince myself that joke isn't funny.
It really is strange though how I do feel like the best stuff kind of strikes you at the most inconvenient times.
Well, there's not just that's a real thing. It's a physiological thing. It's the idea behind that. My understanding of it is the left brain is the more structural side, and the right side is more the creative side. But the structural side takes over. So when you're wide awake and you get enough exercise and the right food and nutrients and sleep, you are not creative, but when you get up super early in the morning, you're late, and the structural side starts to get tired, wants to go to bed, and the little guy sneaks out. I think in my creative thinking and writing, that seems to be the case.
Yeah, that's why I'm such a piece of shit, really, to get my creative side going. I make sure I have no structure and live in squalor, and I've never even considered structure in any aspect of my life.
The structural side has to have some impact. Otherwise, you end up moving into a house, and then this happens for the next month.
Yeah.
Oh, Christ. Is there anything worse? There is nothing worse than moving and move. I don't know what's worse, packing up or unpacking,
I hate it all.
Yeah.
I mean, I pay people. That's why I feel that's the real success in life isn't like, getting your own Netflix special or success in your own podcast, whatever. Real success in life is just simply this. Having enough money to pay other people to move your shit.
Yeah.
That's success.
But here's the deal. I'm actually moving at the end of the month. I'm not going to pay anybody because I don't have enough shit. I can just do it.
I know. It's just too much.
I have just like literally I am just moving clothes. I own nothing else in my life. I have no couch, no chairs, no. I'm throwing out my bed. I'm going to get a new bed. I have nothing to my name. And
that's great, because there's too much crap. Yeah. I mean, like there's some stuff that like, well, I need that. Like I have like a sauna. Well, I gotta have that. I gotta take that.
Well, you gotta have the heated floors, and especially you talk about how you don't wanna, you can't get divorced again because you like your house. Turns out you got a new one.
Well, if you have nice stuff, it does feel good to have like a heated bathroom floor, and then you think I don't want to lose this.
You can't downgrade back to that.
Yeah, a kitchen that's open. You have a backyard. I remember like I knew things were going pretty good for me in New York City when I had an apartment that had a tree in a little backyard. It was only about 8 feet big, but like whoa, you made it, kid.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. The bar that we set for when you're in New York City is so incredibly low. It's like, you actually have a real bedroom with actual walls that you didn't need to build. You are living large, man.
I know. I remember like living on Fifth Street between like in Avenue A when that was really tough. Mm-hmm. And I remember like the guy I was complaining about like cockroaches to like the landlord. This is $500 a month for the apartment, and I remember he said, no, we'll take care of it. And then it was an Asian guy. Actually, I felt uncomfortable doing the accent. How screwed up is this world now?
Oh, do it. You can do
I
it.
said,
Come
no,
on.
I come on, no. And so he comes up to the place, and like while I'm in the apartment, sets off the bomb and then leaves. And it was like one of those like well, I guess I'll just stay there. So I left for a couple hours, and I didn't want to spend money to like go to. I didn't have any money to go to like a hotel and like whatever. So I just kind of slept with a sock over my face that night. That's like. Yeah,
Rob,
that reminds me of like poverty.
I've done my first time living in New York when I was 21. I did the same exact thing, right? Had cockroaches, called the landlord, called the super, whatever it was, told him, we got cockroaches. He's like, all right, we'll come spray. And I was in my bedroom at the time, and it was a ridiculous bedroom. It was my mattress barely fit in it. The toilet was in my bedroom. It wasn't in the bathroom. The toilet was in my bedroom. The only toilet in the whole apartment. 3 guys lived there. And the super came in while I was asleep or while I was working and just started spraying, let off one of those bombs. And I, like someone in a movie who's been trapped, I was just trying to jam towels under the door and stuff. It's like, he didn't even check if I was home. He just came in. It's like the FBI, just like, let a smoke bomb go, shut the door. It's like, clear, flashbang.
This is kind of a weird thing to admit, but like, sometimes you're just a little thick, whatever. And if you're a comedian or whatever, and I was a young guy, and like my buddy Milt Abel had this. I was looking for because we were living with 4 comedians in it was like a two bedroom. So like one guy is literally in the hallway because he didn't want to sleep in the room. So it was rough, and it was a tough part of San Francisco. And so I said I want to get my own place. And so my friend said, dude, there's a place here. It's like not much. It's like $200 a month, like $230 a month. I said, that's really, I can't beat that, of my wages of stand-up comedy. And there was an old guy. It was a dumpy place, but it was in a good neighborhood. It was in like a cool part where there was coffee. It was near Fillmore. So they had coffee shops and girls and stuff like that. So you knew it was good. And but this is
girls.
Humans. There were other humans around. It was great.
It was dumpy. And I remember like the guy who owned the place, and he was the super, did it all. He was in his 80s. And I remember there was literally like, I had nothing. I had like a futon, on a futon, that's good enough. But you had to have like the foam. And I said, screw the foam. And then you couldn't sleep. It was basically like, sitting on cotton rocks or something. And it had one bulb, but it was like 30 feet high in the ceiling, So when they take those old Victorians and they break them up into like 10 different apartments, and it's supposed to be a room. So you're going to, anyway, so there's one light 30 feet up. And it went out, one bulb. Right? So I'm in the dark. So at night, I knock on the super. I said, sorry, I hate the buggy, but I got a light that's out. And said, it's out. It's the only light. I need, light. And then said, and he was Russian. Said, I'll come by it back. That's his problem. I get the light there. It's late, but I do for you. I get your new tenant. I do for you. And so he goes and gets this huge ladder. He's carrying it, and then he comes into the room carrying this ladder. And this guy's in his 80s. And he puts the ladder against the wall. And I'm watching him climb us all this way up there. And I'm going, did I just let an 80-year-old guy climb up a 30-foot ladder? And I'm watching this. And then he puts the other bulb in there. And he looks to me and says, I haven't been feeling very good lately.
Said that atop the ladder?
No, when he came down, he got up and left. And he left. And then he died.
No.
I basically killed this guy. The last thing he did, he climbed the ladder.
Shut
I
up.
killed him.
He died that night?
I mean, how was it?
He died. He died. Like the last thing I think, like I haven't been feeling very good lately.
You probably had some sort of rush of adrenaline. Maybe the heart went a little too fast. You got a little vertigo. I think you killed that man, Rob.
I think I asked an old guy to change the light bulb, and I remember going, "This is why am I'm asking? Why did I just ask a guy in his 80s? He died on me, and I felt terrible about that." And then the worst part was
you got a new light though.
And then the worst part was I got a new light. It was a good trade-off, but then there was nobody. He had no relatives or anything, so nobody in the apartment knew who to pay rent to. That was it. And so we didn't pay rent for a year until the state of California took it over.
Hell yeah!
Oh, you really lucked out.
Listen,
free year rent and a new light bulb.
Yeah, that was I was living the fat life. You know what I mean?
I mean, I feel like you've seen it all in this conversation right here. You've mentioned your time in New York, San Francisco, Las Vegas. I mean, you've been in this game for quite a while, and I gotta commend you, especially in the new special. I got it on my TV right now. You look great, man.
Oh, thank you, buddy. I'm just I appreciate it more now than ever. I'm enjoying myself, and I appreciate how temporary and fragile it all is, especially in this pandemic. We were literally, I said, let's just shoot this thing, and Netflix was nice enough to allow me to do it. And then I said, let me just go to work for 3 months. Really, I'm just working on everything, and I'll bang out this, so I'll just do my act. And by the time we fly out to Salt Lake, and we did it February 29th, 8 days later, the world shut down.
You got it right in. You're probably one of the last. You got to be like the last Netflix special that wrapped up there, right?
I think so, yeah, because literally was like as Norm Macdonald calls it, the Tom Hanks disease came in.
Yeah, I mean, right under the wire.
Yeah, and I remember like, is this really going to happen? I remember I long for the don't you long for the old days of flatten the curve? Remember?
Yeah.
It's just going to be 2 weeks, everybody.
Crazy.
Yeah,
let's all work together for 2 weeks.
Yeah. We tried. Didn't work out too. I don't know how much we work together. I don't think we're much of a togetherness people.
Yeah, I'm not into that. I'm into like, hey, we're all in this together, but then you come and help me unpack some of this shit in my office. Right?
I love the way the special starts. So it's on Netflix now, Asian Mama, Mexican Kids. And within the first couple jokes, you are speaking my language, brother. Just talking about, like, first of all, you're not supposed to look hot when you're 50. Who wants to be jacked and all that shit when you're older? And the bit about you're not even interested in sex anymore. You just want cookies. Oh, I mean, you're talking right to me. You're speaking to my Rob.
I know, but I hope you I'm trying to get back in shape as best as I can. It is tougher though. And I do see these guys that are doing it. I can't do it 5 days a week. I just can't, But like, you just, like the great Louis C.K. said, I just want to be in the shape of when I die, people go, what happened? I hope he comes back. By the way, he just performed with Dave Chappelle at his whatever Dave Chappelle at that place he has.
Oh, I didn't know that. Have you seen his new special, the one that came out early in the pandemic?
No, I have not seen it.
It's fantastic. It's really, really
I know. I heard it. He's amazing. I heard the workings of that about like before he filmed it.
It's one of those things. No matter what you think of him, it's just funny. It's funny. It's like humor and funny. Being funny is a subjective thing, but also not really. You know what I mean? There's something.
There's universal truths. There's like. He has a way to express absurdism and with a beautiful logic to it. All his stuff has logic. When I've talked to him, he just said he comes up with an idea and he has to make sure that it's real, that the logic is there and that it's rational. Then he has his absurdist take on it. And he's brilliant. And he should be able to come back. I mean, honestly, where's the end date for him? I mean, like, Martha Stewart, they threw her in prison, right? And then like she got out, right? When does he get out?
Yeah, right.
But being creepy is certainly not something that is, that people are going to remember that, that's the creepy guy. Just be careful, make sure he keeps his pants on. But at the same time, like, when is enough? I mean, we deserve to have Louis C.K., to entertain us. And he's there. So I think it's a very reactive time in society. And, and rightfully so, people should be banished, but not, but for I think it has to be, we have to look at this thing and not just throw people away forever.
Who is I see, is that Richard Pryor back there behind you?
Oh yeah, no, he's my hero.
Pryor, and you're mentioning Louis. Who is like the greatest for you, or who was your inspiration?
Well, Richard Pryor is the guy that we're all stealing from. I mean, even the guys who don't know it, it's like second and third generation of it. I mean, I grew up and I listened to Cheech and Chong. Getting the chance to work with Cheech Marin was like a dream for me, because Cheech and Chong was like, anything when you're a little kid and you're laughing your head off so you can't breathe, with your brother, that's the greatest. And it was Class Clown by George Carlin, and it was anything by Richard Pryor. Then by the time, Monty Python and then Steve Martin came around, I was in. And like, how do I do this? I want to do this. This is fun.
What's your favorite Python movie? I feel like my dad used to make me watch Monty Python when I was a kid. and I love it. But I feel like most kids my age either don't even know about it or don't like it.
Yeah. Well, it really is a shame that there's a certain loss from the connection of comedy. I mean, they really were the Beatles of comedy for people who they're the high watermark of comedy in the 20th century. And anyone who doesn't say that is just not educated about comedy in the 20th century, because it built off an incredible thing to get to that point. But if you ask John Cleese, I've been very lucky to meet him a few times. Silly is king. The sillier, the better. The goofier and the more you commit to it. And it's like that's what people I think are going to want now, is just very silly stuff, and not like, stuff that to show how smart the comedian is. And they were brilliant, but the stuff that everybody remembers is like the silly walks and the faces and the exaggerations and like the Spanish Inquisition.
The Spanish Inquisition is a classic.
And Spam. All their movies are great. I mean, I really, really enjoyed. The thing I really remember was seeing The Meaning of Life in San Francisco, the very first show, like at 11:30 a.m. And there was only two people in the theater. I was like in the middle, and then Robin Williams was sitting in the back by himself. I didn't know he was there until he started laughing. And then, until he was just slapping the chair, and I go, oh, Robin's up there.
Did you know him at the time?
Well, yeah, we all knew him. He was like, the biggest comedy star in the world at that time. But he was from San Francisco. His wife Valerie lived up there, and but we'd go to Hollywood, obviously, and have fun in Hollywood. But that's why the reason we had a scene in San Francisco is because that's how huge he was. I mean, he was like a supernova, this guy. And so we would have like nobody in the audience, or 8 people or 3 people. And then Robin Williams would come in, and everyone on the street would hear about it, and then their neighbors, whatever. And then they'd pack the club, and then we'd have an audience. And that literally, and so the little clubs started popping up on the off chance that Robin Williams would show up. And more times than not, he would.
So he was like a one-man market, really? Like he brought the
scene? He created that scene without question. Crazy. He made it blow up. I mean, there was like the boarding house, which was like a little coffee place there where people would tell jokes. And then there was like some stuff in the 50s, with the old Purple Onion and things. But San Francisco is like a comedy scene when you have like a bunch of comedians, not just, Woody Allen would come in, or Phyllis Diller would come in like on a weekend there at the old Barbary Coast. There was so this was like a comedy scene now, and so guys that came at it, but it was largely, if not completely, he was responsible for it.
I was reading the book Robin by Dave Itzkoff, which is about his full life. It's incredible. But there's a bit in that saying something very similar to what you're saying, where like Letterman and like Johnny Carson would like be out like just waiting to hear where Robin Williams was, and then they'd show up in the club, and like they'd try to get in like everyone else, and it was like, like the legends were like, we got to see Robin today.
Yeah, no, he really was. There's a few times in the history of show business where you have like Elvis, or you have like a comedy Elvis, or whatever, or a particular, like I'm watching that Frank Sinatra special. It's a couple of years old, documentary. Like he was Elvis before Elvis. And people don't realize like there were thousands of people, girls mostly, just clamoring to get a chance to see Frank Sinatra in the early 40s. And so there was an explosion of comedy, and like the guy who was the pressure on him to be that, to kind of accomplish that and to kind of not disappoint people was phenomenally difficult for him. Mm-hmm. I would see him go on, and he would do at least an hour or 2 hours up in San Francisco so that to warm him up for when he popped into LA.
Yeah.
And he literally would just absorb everything. And that's why, like, I never had a problem with, or never thought anything wrong with him taking ideas from people, because he wasn't stealing the joke. He would take an idea and sometimes and instantly need to know where to go with it. And sometimes he would come out and it would be somebody else's thing, but he was working at another speed. Right. And I the guys who knew him and we all knew, like, he was responsible for us having gigs and having, this all happening. So to me, it was, when he started to go into a bit of mine on Oprah Winfrey, and I remember, he was about to do it. It was like an old bit like Elvis on a fish hook. And I remember, it's like Elvis on a, and And I saw him and I said, he's going to do it. But I didn't feel like, oh my God, he's stealing my bit. I was like, oh my God, he's going to do my bit in a good way.
It's an honor. Yeah.
Yeah. And at the same time, like, cause I remember like, Dana Carvey, one of the most generous, sweetest, greatest comedians we've ever had. He was talking to Robin. Robin said, hey, I'm sorry if I ever, took some of your bits. He said, what about all the voices I do of you? They said, Robin, you're responsible for us, because Robin was such a huge talent that talent agents and like the David Letterman show and like Johnny Carson and NBC would go up to San Francisco and say, are there others? Are there other Robins up here? And there wasn't. It wasn't up. But that's how I got discovered. That's how Dana got discovered, because they came up looking that's where Robin started.
No kidding. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Are you aware that the way you speak of all these guys, there are people who speak about you and your crew and Happy Madison and the Sandler gang in the same vein for, the next generation?
Well, I hope so. It'd be nice. I mean, I'll tell you, I really appreciate that sentiment because, all the greats were great to me. I mean, truthfully, I remember, I had a manager in San Francisco, when I literally had I was driving a little crappy car and they said, listen, Jay Leno's booked into town. He's going to play in San Jose. You're going to pick him up. And you're gonna, San Francisco, because I was like a rat. I knew my way around San Francisco like anything. And this is before, they didn't have no internet or this, there was no global positioning system to figure out where you were. You had a Thomas guide, and you had, and you had to know where you go. So just be there on time, look nice, make sure your car's clean, take him to the radio shows to promote his gig, take him to his hotel, take him a gig, blah, blah. So anyway, I pick him up. I got my signed Jay Leno. I'm like 20, right? And I pick him up, and then I take him to the radio station, and he says, come on, come on up here, come on up. Hey, stay in the car. What do you want to come on up? And so I go up, and then and he does the radio show, and then after the radio show, he goes, you want me to take you to your hotel, Mr. Leno? I said, is there, you got a good Chinese restaurant out? Well, I know the best one I could take you to, sir. And he said, well, we'll get me in there. So and the place that my dad and my mom, is their fancy place. And I said, okay, that's the place. Then my mom and dad wouldn't take me there. When they went out on a date, that's where because we had like 7 of us, right? So that's where they go. So I took them there and I said, can we please get a nice table for Mr. Leno? And he went and said, you want to come in and eat? And I go, sure. So I would come in and sit with him. And he said, he said to me, so you a comedian? I went, yes. How much time you got? And I go, maybe 8 minutes. How much time you have, like, material?
Yeah.
You said,
Right.
how much time you got? And I said, maybe, 8 minutes. I said, good. I'm glad to hear that. Most comedians I ask, how much time you got? They say, I got 2 hours. Who wants to hear 2 hours of comedy material? Either you have, you either have 5 minutes that murders every time out, everywhere you go, or you have that, or you have nothing. Everybody got 2 hours of comedy material. Just go up and kill. If you don't have something that kills every time anyway, you got nothing. And they said, all you need is 20 minutes to become a star in LA. That's all you need, 20 minutes. And so I never forgot that. I spent the next 6 months working on 5 minutes. And then that was the 5 minutes I ended up doing on David Letterman.
Wow.
You got to hear a guy tell you that. And then around that time, Jerry Seinfeld came in. By that time, he'd done like 42 Tonight shows. And so he performed at a place called Cobb's Pub, which is like a bar with a stage, where you could fit like 180 people, which is like everybody paying $15, makes his weekend, right?
Yeah.
It's not a bad gig if you can do it. And you get good Chinese food. So after the show, Jerry, all our comedians were all watching him, he's got the keys to the kingdom. How does he do it? And he's just a great jokesmith and just told great stories and everything. And amazing jokes. And then after we're hanging out with him, just, please tell us how you did this. And he said, hey, you guys got to work clean. You got to take all the swear words out. And then if you take the swear words out and it's not funny without the swear words, then it's not funny.
I've heard him say that before. I don't agree with that. I think like a good fuck is funny sometimes.
No, it is. But if it's only funny because of the fuck, then it ain't.
Right. I mean, but I get that. But you could also, if it's only funny because it's about sex, or if it's only funny, like that's what's funny, isn't it?
I know. There's a joke that I do in the new special that I where I throw a fuck in there, and it seems not. It just helps a little bit more than it would if I didn't have it. Which is my daughter. I'm talking to my 3-year-old, which is a real talking to her about potty training because she just wasn't into it. And we said, we're going to let her decide. And she just wouldn't decide. It's a true story. And she speaks Spanish, mostly more than English, because my wife speaks Spanish pretty much. That's it. And then, so she said to me, Papi, my main 3-year-old, Papi, cambio me, por favor. And I went, K, what? She said, can you change me, please, Daddy? And I'm like, Madeline, if you're smart enough to tell me in 2 different fucking languages, then you're smart enough to hop your little culo up in the toilet right there. You go, now, the fuck I put in there.
It made a difference.
I think so.
Yeah, it stood alone. It was fine.
It's a very funny joke either way. It's hilarious.
But the thought of you saying it to your 3-year-old, and it's especially because it's a frustrating thing. Yeah, it's a place where you would say it. You would say.
I think so. I think it helps goose it a little bit. You know what I mean? It's like, sometimes you pop from 2nd gear to 4th gear, and there's like the little thing you need to go, and you gotta, is that. Mm-hmm. I think that's that. What the F word is sometimes.
I have no idea what you're talking about because I don't know how to drive a stick shift. But I get what you're saying.
I learned how to drive a stick in San Francisco with those crazy hills.
Back in the day?
You really had to get the clutch and do that.
That's the worst place.
Come off the clutch.
Just get
and then you got to go right to the brake because sometimes the car didn't get in because the carburetor delay. And if you have a dirty carburetor like I always had, So it's like, and then you're trying to get your driver's license, going, this is okay, right? But you learn how to drive. That's all you have. You get some crappy car, and it was fun actually. I love those days.
Well, it worked out pretty well for you, Rob. I mean, how many years later? How many movies later? How many specials later? You're a goddamn legend, man.
Oh, thank you. I still feel like I'm just getting started. I swear, it's like it's the best thing to ever was to get back to stand up for me. Thank you, because Chris Rock was talking me into it, and I was so intimidated by how great he was. I remember Chris was a guy who had vision for what he was doing, and then I remember to go see him after he left Saturday Night Live, and he never popped Adam Sandler, of course, but he was always this brilliant comic and the best of all of us for sure. And I went to go see him down in San Diego, and it was on a Sunday night at a club, the Improv. This is like in 97 or 96. And I went to go there. I drove down to go see him, and we had a couple of drinks after. He didn't really drink, but like I do. And then, we were talking, and he said, man, I'm just about to blow up. And I go, and I saw his act, and it was great. But it wasn't packed in there on the Sunday night. It was most 75% packed. It wasn't totally packed. I said, man, I'm telling you, I'm about to blow up. I'm going to be the biggest comedian in the world. It's going to happen now. It's all right there. And then I went, man, I hope so. I said, okay, but he had that vision for it, and I didn't see it at that time. But then he that next routine, the routine that he did, how it developed, how I saw in a couple of months, and then he put that on HBO, and it was like the defining. It's really what changed comedy from this new wave of comedy was from him.
Yeah.
I mean, Chappelle's great and everything, but it was Chris Rock that got. I mean, it was the foundational stuff, the new really introspective, interesting, socially commenting things that that's why Louis C.K. used to write for Chris Rock. I mean, it was Rock, and then he did blow up, and everything he said to me came true.
Must be nice to have that kind of confidence.
Yeah. Do you think that was confidence that he knew it, or do you think he was? You gotta walk the walk if you're gonna, he's gonna convince himself that it's gonna happen, or he really just knew it was that good.
I don't know. Yeah. That's a very good question.
Kind of a chicken or the egg thing,
I do think though, the thing that, I mean, if I can say to get metaphysical on your ass, I would just say I think if I had to say how I think the universe works in creativity, if I had to think about what it works, is that you have to really have a design for it. And I mean that, a real design. Like if you're going to build the house you're living in or the studio you have or whatever you want, you have to okay, we're going to need this. I would like to have it like this. And then you go, okay, what are the materials I need? Well, I'm going to have this wall. I'm going to have this sound system. I'm going to have these people. And then you got to build it and then design it and then go, okay. And then you get the materials for it and then you build it. But creatively to be this person and to have that kind of, impact on the world and culture, pop culture, or whatever, music, whatever, you have to have that excitement and that joy and that vision for it and want it. And at the same time, want it because you love it. And it's that kind of, And I think that's what's underneath, and that's why it was working for him. And I understood it, and I didn't think he was delusional. I just didn't see it like how he was going to make that gigantic leap, and he did, and he made it. And everything he said is like, when I saw that special, and I was like, dude, you nailed it harder than I've ever seen anybody in our generation nail it. And
well, I hope you realize that you are right there on that list as well.
Oh, thank you, brother.
Tremendous amount of success, and the new special is very funny. You got back on stage, and it seems like you just seamlessly slid right back in. So it's out on Netflix now. Asian Mama, Mexican Kids, and thanks for all the laughs all throughout the years, and thanks for the time today.
Well, thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it, Kevin. Thank you, Nick. All the best to you guys. All right, continued success for you too.
Thanks.
Have a good one.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
Thanks now.